Hi, today's book review is on this one, which is just called Lead Guitar. It's by someone called Harvey Vinson, and it's another old one. A lot of these book reviews I'm doing are old guitar books. This one's from 1972. One of my pupils lent me this one recently to have a look at and do a review of. And this one's really interesting. I like this one. It's probably not the best book, kind of technically, sort of the content. It's not the best that you're ever going to find, but it's definitely kind of quirky. It's you can tell when it was written. It's definitely of its time, and it's just a nice book. The stuff that's in here is a little bit different to most other books. It's very blues based, which isn't a bad thing. But if you're not into blues, then don't get this. It's got some flaws, I would say. There's things like, for example, the blues scale. There's a lot on the blues scale in this book, which is obviously a really important scale for guitarists, especially playing blues. Well, initially the blues scale's written in here, and it's actually the pentatonic minor that he's written, but it's not the blues scale. Now, I know there's a bit of a grey area there. Some people would say that the minor pentatonic is the blues scale. I think that's possibly how I learnt it when I first came across it, but but it's not really. And my understanding now is that the blues scale has an extra note to the minor pentatonic. But anyway, blues scale, not really the blues scale initially, and then quite quickly after you've learnt this blues scale in here, he then tells you that there's an extra note that you can add in. Well, that becomes then what I understand to be the blues scale. It's like a strange way of sort of explaining it now. But then in 1972 it might have been more the way that was explained. So there's things like that which are a bit strange, and then later on it comes back to this blues scale thing, and that note's missed out again, and then later on in the book it's added, and it's a little bit inconsistent. I suppose that's probably the best way to describe the book. The fault of the book is it's very inconsistent, but I like it though. It's a good book, and if you play through some of the exercises in here and the patterns, you'll find some good stuff. Like a lot of these old books, I think someone now looking through this almost any guitarist is going to find something in here that they maybe hadn't played before, something they hadn't thought of. So there'll be so I'm looking through here. There's going to be something that I don't already use, so I'll get something from it. There's quite a nice thing that I like, which initially I thought was a criticism that I had of this, but I sort of decided I quite like it. Is he talks about a couple of other scales towards the end of the book. One is the Memphis scale. Well, I'm not so familiar with that term. I think I probably have heard of it, but it's not something I use. But or not the term, but the Memphis scale is basically a harmonised mixed Lydian scale, but he just calls it the Memphis scale, and it's this kind of thing. When I use this loads, but I don't think of it as being the Memphis scale, but it's quite a nice name for it because it's very Steve Cropper and that kind of style. So he talks about that. No mention of harmonising a scale, a harmonised scale, or what you're actually doing there, or mixed Lydian. That's not mentioned, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. And there's another one. I've made some notes here. What was the other one that was like that? Oh yeah, there's a scale that he calls the sixth scale, the G6 scale. But that's actually a pentatonic major scale. Now, it would probably make more sense to just call it a pentatonic major, because pentatonics are the foundation of all kind of lead guitar playing, really. Most people would probably agree with that. The word pentatonic I don't think is mentioned in this book. I could be wrong. I haven't read every single word in the book. I think you'll find if you went through here that the word pentatonic doesn't appear in it. That's a bit odd. Book on lead guitar playing. No mention of pentatonic. Anyway, so it's very unusual. I don't think you'd find a book now that had used these terms. So it's quite refreshing, I suppose. It's a bit different. And I like the kind of way he's talking, like he says about taking lessons, but a word to the wise: stay away from middle-aged, middle-class establishment music teachers unless that's your trip. So that's the kind of thing that's in here. So it sounds like it was written when it was written. It's kind of some odd things that he says in here, but it's quite a nice book from that point of view. Like a lot of these ones I've been doing reviews of, the older ones. It's really nice to look at now because it's so different from a book that you'd buy now, and there probably are barely any books now. You know, it's all online. One other thing, it comes with a record. Literally a record. And I kind of remember magazines and things coming with these. I suppose would have been in the 80s that I can remember them. And this has got the guitar tuning notes on it. I haven't played it, but it's got the guitar tuning notes on it, and it's got some blues backing tracks and things. So that's a really good thing. But obviously you've got to have a record player. So I like that one. It's kind of flawed, but I like it. So yeah, lead guitar by Harvey Vinson. I'd be interested to know in the comments if anyone else has got this one. Okay, thanks.